This is the second of our Munch and Learn sessions, and this one's going to be slightly different, and it's going to be based around an interview format with somebody who has some specialist knowledge on, in this instance, videography and related expertise. But just before we kick off, I'd like to do a quick introduction for those of you who might not know Karen. So I'm trying to administer this as well. Karen is our membership manager, and she controls just about everything you see in here. So she's going to help me with any questions that come up while I'm talking to Gillen. But also, just Karen's worth getting to know, as she's a very important person at the heart of the NoLimits community. Good morning, Marvin. Good to see you on the call as well. So we're just about to start now, the purpose of this particular session is twofold: using an interview technique to help people get to know a particular member in the community with a particular set of skills that we think might be valuable to the community to know about. It's an opportunity to get educated on a topic. You might know something about videography. I think we all know that video is becoming a more important part of digital marketing. But I think Gillen will be able to give us, I think, a lot of us a greater insight into that. And then if this is something that resonates for your business and helps your business growth, which is really what this whole community is about, then it gives you an opportunity to perhaps go directly to Gillen if there's an opportunity to do business together, or anybody else in this community. So we'd like to build up that sort of know, like, and trust, not just be sort of names on an app, as some of us will be at first off at the moment. So to start with, our first one is, and I've got somebody just coming in, Jenny Ward is joining us, which is great. And just let Jenny come in. Hello, Jenny. Good morning. We're just getting underway with. I'd like to introduce people to our first interviewee in this series, and it's Gillan Williams of Clarity Video. Good morning, Gillen. Good morning. Thank you for having me. No problem. Now, I'm going to do a very brief introduction, which is that Gillen is a film producer and founder of Clarity Video, and it delivers sort of content for small and medium-sized enterprises. And he's got a range of experience, which we're going to go into and find out a little bit during this this interview process this morning. But his digital strategies also cover podcasts as well as just video, and I think it's really interesting how that world is evolving. So, in terms of introducing you, Gillen, you started off life. You were brought up in Wales, Pembrokeshire, I think, quite a lot. But you now live in deepest, darkest South Oxfordshire, in the lovely village of Ewelme. So, just very briefly, tell us, how did you make that journey from Pembrokeshire to South Oxfordshire?
About 7 years ago, my partner and I were living in Wales, and we'd hit a bit of a glass ceiling. I was working in marketing and had done quite well. I was working for a company called FBM Holidays, and we were in that role. I managed to sort of. We had a lot of success. We managed to compete against the multinationals and had some fantastic campaigns, but there wasn't much more that I could do. And Catherine was working in management, and she wanted to improve on her role. And again, there just wasn't that much opportunity there. So we decided to start applying for work around the country, and whoever got the big job first, that's where we would go. And Catherine got a job at AstraZeneca in Oxfordshire, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire. And then I happened to get a job in Oxford marketing for a company called Oxford Risk, which was fantastic. It just sort of coincided. So this is how we ended up here. Very good. Very good. And so how did you become interested in photography, videography? Was that something, a sort of a lifelong passion, or was it something you evolved into? Was that something you were into as a kid? Yeah, so videography was something that I've been doing in one form, certainly media production, since I was a teenager. I started in the National Theatre Wales when I was 16, ended up as a lighting technician on camera and in the Millennium Dome. We were very fortunate to be able to do that at the age of 18, and wanted to pursue that, try to do that in Wales, and there just isn't the level of opportunity there that there are in other places. So wasn't able to run a company, that could support the family doing that, or even myself, unfortunately, where we were in Wales. And so that's how I sort of fell into marketing. But yeah, videography has been something that I've been doing for a very long time. I also work in film production, so I have a lot of skills that I take from that and apply them to what I do now.
Very good. Okay. Well, look, can you just tell us a little bit about your experience in videography and marketing? I know you very much focus on the videography side now, but you have a background in marketing. So just can you tell us a little bit how you your experience evolved in using video with marketeers?
Well, so about 4 years ago, I had a pretty catastrophic motorcycle accident, and that took me out for quite a while. And whilst I was taken out, I was sort of thinking about what I was doing with my life. And at the time I'd worked up to brand management. I was working in central London in the finance industry. And I didn't enjoy this role. It was successful, and we were making great strides with the company, attracting the likes of HSBC, Bank of Canada, Rothschild, so we were having some good results, but I just wasn't satisfied with it. And I really wanted to do more in terms of video. And at the time I was also producing a feature film. And as I said, I've been working in videography in some form for a while. So I decided that I would pivot and then combine my skills in marketing and brand management, and then the practical skills of videography, and then bring that together to form the company Clarity Video, which was registered in 2021 and then started trading last year.
Okay. So it's a new company, but thinking back over slightly longer term in terms of experience, even in that relatively short space of time over the last 5 or 6 years, you must have seen quite a bit of change in how video is used and applied particularly perhaps for smaller businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, I mean, the Clarity Video, I always say that it's a new business, but old skills. And when I was working for Oxford Risk, we were using video then. And what I've seen over the last 5-6 years is the barrier for entry for video has fallen dramatically. Everybody now, most people have a video in their a camera in their pocket, so they're able to produce video themselves. And so, and the lockdown pushed people online, and video became essential for business. And now consumers expect a brand to use video. They expect to see something from them in terms of video, and that might be product demonstrations, or at least access, or the face of the business owner, or whoever may be the manager on camera. That's expected, and it's something perfectly achievable by most of all small businesses. And that's what I call UGC, so user-generated content. That should go in hand with produced content. So that's what I think there's an expectation of seeing both, like a slick video, so an overview of the company and the products and services, but then also access to it. And I think that's the major change, is people are expecting access.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really interesting, and I'd like to dig in a few moments into more detail about the specific things that you offer at Clarity Video. But could you tell us still a more general level, sort of anything about sort of the digital strategies that you might specialize in, and any details of any campaigns for large or small companies that you may have that may be of interest to the people on here today?
So the digital strategies that I specialize in within Clarity Video, it's broad. In terms of digital strategies, I would say video content for online campaigns, which could be paid social media, website, and it's. I don't like to say that I have a one size fits all product, because I don't think there's such a thing, and I don't have necessarily a sort of a list of packages. So what I prefer to do is come to each company, discover what their brand is, who their audience are, and what their business goals are. Once you know those things, then you're able to formulate a creative campaign or creative solution that fits the requirements of the business. So in terms of digital strategies, well, it really depends on what the business is doing, because every business is different. So we will have a variety of solutions available to them, and that goes from, I shot a mini series with Smeg. I did the Smeg and Campari Valentine's campaign, and that was a social campaign. I've done product overviews, brand overviews, interviews, testimonials. So it really does depend on what the requirement of the business is. In terms of a successful campaign, well, that collaboration with Smeg and Campari went very well. Went across the socials. I think it was international. Great response to it. So I was very pleased with that. And I think that's where the advantage that I have in terms of my background in marketing and brand management comes in, because I started trading in January of last year, and I'm already working with international brands. And I think that's because I take that approach as your business first, not what we give to you. Because when I was working at Oxford Risk and working with content creators and agencies, I would often get frustrated because it didn't feel like our requirements were being necessarily listened to. That there was a stock solution that was being offered, and that was it. And that doesn't always fit your needs. Okay.
And so it sounds to it's quite a sort of at the beginning of the process is quite a consultative approach, in that you go in and listen to what they believe are their brand values, who the
absolutely
are, and particularly what their goals are, which sometimes I find quite generally dealing with small medium businesses. It is sometimes difficult to get pinned down on what the goals. They're doing something because they think it's a good marketing technique. They've heard that it can work, but not really too specific about what the goals are. So I think setting specific goals is valuable. Do you also find that the video has a lifespan? So if somebody invested with you in some video, middle of this year, presumably they could get 1-2 years worth of use out of it if it's pitched right. Does it have a good lifespan?
Yes, and to sort of expand on your point, the first thing that I generally do, and sometimes people come with me a specific project in mind, and then of course I fulfill the brief. But generally, we do a discovery call, which is free, and that's where we discover everything about what you need and what the project needs. In terms of the lifespan of the video, that really does depend. If it's social video, the lifespan is very, very short.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that a combined approach to that video is necessary to get the return on investment. It can be frustrating for some smaller brands where there's seemingly a large outlay, and you have to pay for the time of the videographer. But the return on investment for social video specifically can be very low if it's not part of a wider campaign. So what we might do is say, okay, we want to do social engagement videos, but can these also be utilized on YouTube? And maybe we could optimize the content of the video in accordance with search terms on YouTube, so that video has more sort of evergreen capability, where people will be searching for that term. They'll be finding that solution on YouTube or via Google if the SEO is working for you. And then you have more longevity. Put it on your website. Put it as part of training materials. Maybe have a QR code if it's a tutorial on how to use an electric car. If you're a hire company, then let's put a QR code on the dashboard of the car. Right, you scan that. Now that video is being used again by everybody who hires that car. So there's strategies in terms of giving that video longevity, and so you get a greater return on investment, and that would then reveal itself during that consultation process.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's move on be a little bit more specific about what Clarity does. So, I think you've touched on a number of these, but what in your view, sort of, if you could summarize what sets Clarity Video apart from other video companies out there? You said that in a sense it was set up partly out of your own frustrations with trying to get things done when you were wearing a different hat. So just tell us a little bit more about what sets you apart.
Well, I think it's that approach where it's very much client first and what your requirements are. And the mantra of the company, the tagline is storytelling for business. So we are helping you tell your story, and whether that's the story, your founding story, or maybe your products and your services, maybe of key stakeholders. But that's the way that we try and help you connect with your audience. Storytelling is the most innate thing that we do. When we're children, we start telling stories, and everybody understands what a story means and how to absorb it. So we help you tell your story. We also have an online course. If you go to claritycourses.com, there's the Storytelling for Business course where we actually break it down so that we can help you define what your story is, because that's what fills a gap in terms of people not knowing what to say. They know they need to use video, and that the video improves engagement. In terms of what you're going to say, that there's a course that helps with that. And then there's your standard video sort of services, testimonials, interviews, product overview, brand overview, branded content. And then we also have the podcasting service, which is now fast becoming one of our largest products. And that's part of a service called the Content Pyramid. And so what we do is we have a podcast with you, and we commit to one episode a month, and we record a video podcast. That's the top of the pyramid. And from that video podcast, we then take the audio, and you have an audio podcast. So the video podcast will go across Spotify and YouTube and Vimeo if you want to use that. So you've got the video channels. The audio podcast will go out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google, all of the major ones. We guarantee to get it on there. So now you've got that content across your audio podcast channels. We then cut 3 short videos out of the video podcast. That now is your social media marketing content. So that goes across your social channels. And we also transcribe the audio from the audio podcast. So now you have the written copy to use in your website, email campaigns, marketing assets, whatever you want. So it's a highly efficient service in terms of content production, but also time and cost. Yeah. So that's become very popular because you get such a huge amount of marketing material to use each month for one recording session. So I
know there's probably no such thing as an absolutely typical one or an average one, but how much time would somebody need to put into that session to actually make it work and then cascade all those other benefits off it?
You need to do your pre-production, so you need to spend some time making sure that you have the right content, and I'd say that could be 2 to 4 hours a month, if really focused, maybe longer if you want to spend more time on it. And what I suggest to people now is that because this video content is going up on YouTube, have a look at your analytics, have a look at what search terms people are using when they come to your site. So use Google Analytics, find out what those search terms are, and then answer those questions. And the reason being is that those are the questions your audience is actively searching for, and they are coming to your site. So you are answering that to an extent. We'll go into that deeper. And then when that goes into YouTube, that will be a search term, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine we have. And so use that to your advantage. That's a great way of understanding what topics you should be doing. So I'd say 2 to 4 hours per month, just on preparing what you're going to say, and then booking, relevant guests, and then production could take about 3 hours by the time we've sort of set up recording and that's it. All the content's then delivered to you, ready to go. And you just need to schedule that in.
Okay, and that's quite a bit of time to get that done. But if you're doing that once a month, you've really got a cascade of material that can go on blogs, on websites, podcasts, as well as the YouTube and other video services. So it's a pretty comprehensive cascade.
It is, and depending on the size of the business and what your capabilities are, we also have the podcast marketing service where we do a lot of that work for you, and we work more consultatively with you to develop your content for your podcast. But also then we provide all the marketing that goes around it, because for a podcast to really work, you have to push it. So we will help you with your social media marketing and your SEO and all of that.
Very good. And so in terms of the type of companies, is there any particular sort of niches that you're finding are more sort of amenable to this type of approach, or is it sort of all sorts of businesses that it could apply to?
All sorts. We have podcasts with a podiatrist, I think that's what you call, medical research company, just started on, it's about to launch with a couple of famous sportsmen. So sports related, food and drink, beverage related. So it honestly, if you feel that you have enough to say, because that's important as well, and you're able to add value, and that really is the key when it comes to video of any kind, is you have to add value. You got to approach this from the viewers, the listeners' perspective. Why should they be listening to you? Why should they be watching your content? What are you delivering to them? Because it's very tempting often to tell them about your features, because that's as a business owner, that's what you're concerned about. but they might not care about that. It's the benefits. What benefits are you providing to them? What problems are you solving? Because that's what all they really care about.
Yeah.
They don't care if this product took you 12 years to develop. It's what does that product do for them? How does that make their life easier? So if you feel that you have enough to say around that, then we could do it. I would say it's industry agnostic.
Right.
It might be business specific.
Okay. And the other aspect, I was fascinated with a conversation with you a week or two ago about some of the how you see the evolution of sort of video and podcasts like this, and particularly with what's happening with YouTube. Could you just tell us a little bit about you think is going to happen in the industry for these types of business communications over the next 6 months to a year or two?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, TikTok launched, it became dominant. And so the short form vertical format became king for a while. And that was receiving all of the attention, that was receiving all the screen time. So the other networks were scrambling to catch up. So you had Reels with Instagram and YouTube Shorts to try and compete. And Google, who own YouTube, they're pivoting. Because the problem you have with short form content from their perspective is that it sort of goes against their business model. When you're watching a 15 to 30 second video and you're scrolling through, you don't wait for the ads to play, you just skip straight past it. And that's the way that they make their revenue. If you're watching long form content, then people are much more likely to watch the ad. They'll endure over the ad to continue watching their content. And that fits their business model better. So in terms of YouTube and podcasting, they are now pivoting towards podcasting because it's a long form content, and they've released new features to help with podcasters. And I believe that their intention is to take on Spotify and to dominate that side of things. You're finding now with YouTube Shorts, the engagement has dropped dramatically. Right. Not to say that the short form vertical format is going to go away. I think that it has a very strong place, certainly in terms of putting your face and your personality on camera. As I often use it on LinkedIn, and it's a great way of connecting with your audience. If you have something short to say, that's the way to go. But in terms of what you want to do is you want to take advantage of the growth strategies of the networks that you're using. If you're going to help them deliver the content that they want to achieve their goals, your videos are more likely to be pushed. So that's why podcasting, certainly on YouTube, is going to be a great way to go.
Okay. I think that's really interesting how YouTube is pivoting, as you say, towards podcasts, because I wasn't particularly aware of that, but now you describe it, it makes complete sense from the way they run their business. But given I suspect YouTube is a platform most of us on here will use reasonably frequently, I think it's important to know that it's perhaps that it's changing somewhat, or be aware of how it's changing if we want to use it as for business promotion. Can I think there's a couple of questions coming, and I'll ask Karen to refer to those in a moment. But just sort of more generally, how could people best either find out more about Clarity Video, and you mentioned a training course that you do. So could you just tell us a little bit more about the training, if some people here might want they or their team to learn a bit more about using video in their marketing and promotions?
Yeah, so the courses are on claritycourses.com, and Storytelling for Business is there will be more courses added, but that's the first one. And what that's to answer a question I was getting a lot, where clients were saying that we know we need to use video, we know it's the most engaging way. It's like people retain 95% of what they watch on a video, and it's 84% more effective than written content on the website. The round icon with the triangle in the middle, that's the most sought after icon. People want to watch video, they tend to not want to read. The problem that they have is they know that it has value, they know they should be doing, but they don't know what to say. And so Clarity Courses breaks down what storytelling is exactly, how to develop your brand stories. When you do the course, you're learning about storytelling, but also you're developing your brand stories. At the end of the course, you have that. It's CPD accredited, so that goes towards your professional development. And you'll understand how to create brand story, how to create stories about your products and services as well, in a way that people consume. And as you go through the course, you'll realize that most of the video that you see from brands, large brands especially, they use the story format because it is the most effective way to communicate. So it unlocks that secret for you. And that's available on claritycourses.com. And then our services you can find on clarityvideo.co.uk. And that will cover everything else that I've mentioned.
Okay, and just how long is that story course? If somebody were to to sign up for that, how much time commitment is it? Because I think there's a common feature these days is that people consider themselves a little bit time poor. They want to learn things, but it's actually as efficient as possible. How long's the course?
So you can get the video content on that is just over an hour. So if you just wanted to rattle through, just watch the video and only do that, you have an hour's worth of footage, just 12 videos. It's 5 lessons broken into 12 videos. If you wanted to commit to developing your brand story, because there's a workbook that goes with it. So if you, at the end of each section, you then go to your workbook and then you work on your own brand story, then that's worked out at about 4 hours at the time you spend your time committed to that.
That's good. Okay, well, look, I'm mindful of time, and there's a couple of questions come in. I've got Jason Priest, who's a locksmith from Oxford in here, has asked a very interesting question. So I'm going to jump to that first. And the question is, can you do a scope video that could go inside a lock in a door for close-ups of the key turning the levers? For example, Jason does a lot of historic buildings, and he does some extremely old church doors, for example. He does other things, but that would be sort of something quite technically unique, almost going inside the lock to see it working. Is that something you could do?
Yes, there's a lens I could hire to do that, and yes, that is something that we could do. It would, it would take. It would depend on the lock. If it's a Yale lock, then that might be more difficult. Like this typical front door key. But if it's a church lock, because what you need is you need space for the camera to see what's going on. So if the mechanism inside has enough space and we can get some light in there, then I'm sure that we could do that.
Jason, I don't know whether you can see it again, but Jason's just putting out the size of lock. Some of the locks he deals with, yes, he does do the Yale locks and the modern stuff, but he's a specialist in ancient locks as well as modern ones. But yeah, somebody says that would teach you to do lock picking. I'm going to leave that to Jason's insurers. Karen, are there any other? So sum up that, Jason. It sounds to me that you should go direct to Gillen. There might be an interesting little project come out there, because I can see where you're going, and it could be a fantastic piece of video to promote your services. But Karen, have we got any other questions we'd like to
yes, we have one from Hyatt. She's asking if is there any link to see how, I think this is about video content, is how it can help her as a holistic therapist. So is there any place where she can find material to guide her?
Can I clarify? Good morning.
Oh, yes, please. Good
Thank
morning,
you so much. I'm very grateful to be part of this, amazing event, which I am learning a lot about new things every day. My question was, you shared a lot of context, but is there something like, for me as a holistic therapist, how can I help share a story to connect people, for example? So it's not how I can, it helps me, but how would I use my story to help? Is there something that I can see first?
I would say listen to the Callan Olive. That's the brand. It's the Bare Your Souls podcast. So Maggie, who presents that, she talks very much about how the therapies that they have helped their clients. So that could well be a good way to do that. And if you can find it, just search for that on any podcast provider. So that's the Bare Your Souls podcast. And any one of those, which should give you a good idea of how Maggie at the podiatry is using storytelling and that format to help her clients and audience.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm guessing your course might be a good value for anybody who wants to learn how to tell story in business. I think.
Yes.
Paul, were you waving at me then, Paul?
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't know if for asking questions on my podcast. I normally say put your hand up. For the lady that just spoken, I think the best way is to actually start engaging yourself with podcasts amongst people in your field, as Gillen has just said, on YouTube, You can search for that. It'll get you used to that, and it'll also teach you how other people are promoting their services or answering the questions that typically people have. Because when people ask questions, they want answers, and a great way to provide those answers is through, as Gillen says, by video, because it shows your authority, it shows your personality, and it's just getting used to it. None of this is easy when you haven't done it, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. I'm always fascinated, like Gillen, as to why people do not use video. I think I know why, but is there anybody on the call using video? Show of hands. The question is why? Why not? I'd be interested to find out why not. I think I know.
Can I share why not? For example, first of all, you have to have the right makeup, you have to have the right hair, you have to have the right clothes, you have to have the right lighting. I actually started doing YouTube kind of like videos, and then somebody mentioned the camera and it wasn't good enough and all of that, so I stopped.
Leah.
I think to answer that, I think that's where the combination comes in. So if you do the handheld, you're speaking to camera, it's almost like people have a lower expectation of the production value because they understand you're filming yourself and they can relate to what that looks like. If you're doing something like a podcast, then we have a full camera rig, lighting, it's multiple cameras, we have the microphones, everything comes to you. So you don't have to worry about any of that. We make sure that it looks great on the video. And Paul, to answer your question about how many people are using it, so to extend on that point, video is becoming an essential skill, I think, for business owners. I think in the same way that people are expected to have a deck or be able to, do their 1-minute pitch, you need to develop your online video skills because that's how people are expecting to connect with your business.
I know that, Gillen. I think we've had a conversation. I was asking people on the call who was doing it and why not. Typically, yes. Is the makeup right? I visited the Mendip Hospital Cemetery, which is a cemetery that buried about 3,000 people that were in the pauper asylum that's the back of me. And I was visiting last Wednesday, and there was a lady there, hair was all over the place. And I said, would you mind me just interviewing? And she got a little bit flustered, but I just put my camera there and I spoke to her. So she forgot there was a camera there. And it was fascinating. And already we started to share that. I'm with you, Gillen, about the power of video, but I'm more fascinated. I think you got a lot more experience with video production than I have. I do quite a bit of video, but I tend to do it with individuals and I'm fascinated as to why they don't do it. And I think it is fear. And I think the benefit that you bring to it, and you just said it, is all the fears of composition, lighting, audio is important, what to say, you take care of that. They don't have to worry, they just have to turn up. And I think having you coach them and having somebody like you coach them, if they want to do video to begin with, they either take the long term and do lots of rubbish videos, or they go to somebody like you and get you to coach them in how to do videos. And eventually, a lot of them, they could realize that they could do themselves. And that's, production values don't have to be massive budget nowadays. As you say, the phone, knowing a little bit about lighting. If you're close enough to an iPhone, the audio is perfectly good. And then the rest is just doing it. And people are not saying, he's not got that, he's not in the line of thirds or whatever, that lighting's a little bit odd. There's a couple of banding on these videos at the moment. They don't need to worry about stuff like that. We know why that's happening, but that's all I wanted to say. And I just wanted to encourage anybody, the locksmith, anybody on here, to do more videos. I mean,
absolutely, Paul. Thanks for that. I think absolutely right. Just to reverse the question, is there anybody here that doesn't think video could work for them, for their business? Because I'm looking at what people I know on here. I know it could work for you. I mean, Darren Hutt's on here, decorating, obvious one. Marvin getting over expertise in insurance is probably a slightly less dull way than using 10 sheets of A4. You could probably do that. Bring out your character as well. So I think it's something every business has got to be looking at. I just noticed, I'm just mindful of time, but Jenny, were you waving at somebody else, or were you waving at me?
I just wanted to say one of the reasons why I think I don't use video is because, not that I'm not knowledgeable on my product, but when I turn on the TV, I don't want to watch reality programs with people that are not, you know, they've had no training. They just rock up in front of the camera and think they're a professional. And that's what I think that I would look like, which is why I shy away from it. You can do your hair and you can get your lighting, but I've had no proper formal training on what you do in front of a camera, how you look, you know, and that's what it is that makes me think, oh no, you know, I'm not worthy of that. That's my take on it.
What I would say to that is the two very different things. No, I wouldn't say that anybody who's looking at you in terms of a business owner would expect you to be a professional entertainer. And I think that a lot of people fear that they won't be entertaining enough. That's not necessarily what people are looking for. They're either looking for being entertained might be something, but they'll also be looking to be informed. And people have this innate ability, we all do, of knowing when someone's not being their authentic self, even if we don't know them. And what people want is authenticity. So if you're on the camera and you're being your authentic self and you're talking about your products and services in a way that means something to them, that will be engaging because you're answering their questions. In terms of being entertaining, I wouldn't worry about that. Be your authentic self, because that's what people are going to connect with. If you try to be entertaining and you don't feel that you are, that really won't work. And I would suggest that you don't do that. But speak to them as you would to anybody else.
And Jenny, I believe that you've got a natural friendly expertise. You know your stuff, and that's why people will be watching it. It's not what you're wearing or whatever. They'll be learning. Jenny's a mortgage advisor for those who don't know her, but she really knows her stuff. And if you were worried and wanted a distraction, of course, bring the spaniel in.
Everyone knows the dog. Everyone knows the dog video.
In actual fact, that's perfect. Dog and cat videos.
Jason's produced one as well as a lock. Did that come out of a lock? All right. Look, I'm conscious of time. Anybody have any final questions they'd like to ask Gillen? Because you now know how to contact him through the NoLimits app or through via his website. So Gillen, is there anybody else have any final questions? If not, I might just say...
No, I haven't got a final question, but I just wanted to say thank you for this morning, and just to say that why about people not wanting to be on video or not having used video. I think there are some industries, and I'm in the holistic wellness industry too, and I think that some of us may have come from kind of bricks and mortar and traditional kind of marketing habits and strategies, and didn't actually kind of know or understand the value of video within the given industry or the given sector. So I think it's kind of just raising awareness, and then what happens, it's like the old age thing where it's the unknown, so you get then giddy going, oh, video, yes, that's brilliant, and then all the processes come in, as in, oh, fearful, all the objections, etc. So what you've kind of broken down today, Gillen, is that kind of it is a process. There are steps to take, and I think it's then just taking the appropriate steps at the right time, which, you know, you've got the contact with yourself, and you've also got the courses to help people. So thank you for highlighting that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can all get in touch with info@clarityvideo.co.uk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course he's on the app as well. Well, I think I'm going to draw this to a close. Thank you very much for everybody's participation. I think Karen will take this so if anybody wanted to watch it that missed the start, or you know somebody might benefit from it, there will be a recording available in due course, won't there? Karen?
Later on today, I will be posting the replay so you can see this and take notes and share with people who wasn't able to make it. So
okay.
yes, will be available in a couple of hours' time.
Thanks, thanks, Karen. Well, I'd just like to thank Gillen for his time and expertise this morning. So thank you for that. And we're evolving these, so these sort of sessions. So any feedback to myself, if it's good, come back to me. If it's horrible, go back to Karen, because she'll give you a lecture. And I'd just like to say, I think next week we have one on how to increase the value of your business. Is that Gary Hale's the next one of these, Karen, next week?
We are having next week, actually it's Paul.
Oh, that's Paul. Paul's doing something next week. Okay, Paul. So Paul, what are you going to be talking about next week?
Give a big plug. I've got an extensive background in marketing, corporate marketing with 2 international hair care companies. I was B&I director for 10 years with my own region. And there's a big difference between marketing for corporate and small business. The big difference is corporate, you're spending somebody else's money. In small business, it's coming out of your pocket, and I know what that's like. So next week, I'm going to really make it so simple to understand the 5 pillars of any marketing strategy, including a video marketing strategy. 5 pillars. I'll share those with you, but in particular, I'll show you how to get more from your networking on NoLimits and anywhere else you're networking, live or not. And it's one not to be missed, in my view, but then I'm biased.
Yeah, we'll be there. Well, look, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for that, Paul. Great plug. And Karen, keep the messages going out about these sessions, because I think they're good to build engagement. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now and say have a great day to everybody, and hope to see you all back on here soon. And thank you very much, Gillen.
Thank you, Gillen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. See you later.